Welcome to Two Across, the podcast where two friends sitting on opposite sides of the Atlantic catch up over a crossword. I'm Theo Bosanquet, sitting in London.
And I'm Rob Cole, sitting in Montreal.
Hey Rob.
Hey Theo, how's it going?
It's going well for me, and on a quick observation of your video feed, it's not been going so well for you, because I can see a large white cast on your right arm. What has gone on?
Well, I have had a little bit of a mishap over the weekend, which delayed us actually recording this podcast in the first place, which would have gone out much earlier in the week. But I spent the last 3 days in hospital, which was unexpected, as I suppose it often is, dealing with a broken radius and ulna in my right arm, a clean break on both bones.
Oh, God.
So, yeah.
So the big question is, how come? What happened?
So I was participating in the 39th edition of the Tour de l'Île, which is a biking tour of Montreal where they close the streets to traffic and you get to ride freely. And they had a couple of courses. I did this extra long one because I was trying to whip myself into shape for a summer of intensive cycling. So I did the 100-kilometer Explorer course, which went all the way on the west side of the island and skirted the river on the north and on the south side. It was a really cool course. And unfortunately, kilometer 90, unbeknownst to me, I'd gotten a puncture either just before or at a certain corner. Hit the corner at speed, wheels went out under me, body flipped around, right arm planted to take the blow, and crumpled. It's about the best thing I can say for what happened there, yeah.
Oh, man. Rob. But at least it happened in a reasonably cool way, taking part in a bike race.
Yeah, I was keeping up a good pace, and it was cool because I only had 10K left. I'd met this guy maybe 20K in, and we were just at the exact same speed, and so we were sort of drafting off each other. Then we lost each other, and we met at the chocolate milk stand at kilometer 75.
Yeah.
And then we decided just to kind of ride the rest out. So we were riding side by side, chatting happily, talking about our kids and all this stuff, and then... And then I went down.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And then it wasn't straightforward by the sounds of it, getting it reset.
Well, we're I think, like kind of all modern sort of socialized healthcare having countries, the healthcare system's under strain and has been for a while. So I was in what the British call A&E, what we call emergency, for about a day. I slept in a gurney in a hallway for the first night, waiting for surgery. And then it just kept getting bumped because I was in a trauma center. And obviously people were coming in who had more significant traumas than me. But I have to give it to the staff at the Montreal General. If anyone there is listening, they were absolutely lovely, especially on floor 16 where I spent 2 nights. All the nurses were just absolutely incredible. And the level of care, once you get into the operating theater and you see the 7 people in scrubs all washing up and all the equipment. I mean, it's world class once you get through the weights. So ultimately it ended up working out really well, and I'm really thankful to obviously all the folks at Montreal General who patched me up.
Shout out to floor 16 from both sides of the Atlantic. Now, you did mention in your messages to me a rather interesting hallucinatory experience. So tell us about this.
When they set the bone initially, this is before they did the surgery, they just kind of wanted to get the bone set and into a cast so they were in the right position while I waited for the surgery. And so they said, okay, well, when we do this, we're going to give you this sort of thing, but it's not quite like a general anesthetic. You're going to sort of be here, but kind of not here. And you might hear us, you might even converse, but anyway, you'll see. It's going to be interesting. I was like, okay. And they said, but just think happy thoughts. Where's a place that a vacation you've recently took that you would like to go back to? And I thought, well, Italy was nice. Let's think about Italy. Anyway, they said, okay, great. Think about Italy. Have this. They put this thing in my drip, and then I went on a cosmic journey, which had nothing to do with Italy, I'm going to say right off the bat. And I don't know how far we get into this sort of, dangerous side of our pasts. But suffice it to say, that wasn't my first experience of a hallucinogen. But it was probably the most insane, by far. It was the most crazy psychedelic journey I think I've ever been on in my existence. It was really quite something. And so when I came to, I'd asked them, what was that? And I think I remember them saying ketamine or something like that. And then I went on a rant about having heard about John Hopkins on a podcast. If you know him, he's a British electronic musician. And he made an album called Music for Psychedelic Therapy, which apparently was meant for ketamine experiences, because ketamine is widely used in psychedelic therapy, and it's actually legal for use in therapeutic settings in Canada. And so John Hopkins had actually made this album for listening to while you're on a ketamine experience. So I was like nattering with the anesthetician as I was coming to about she should really check out this album because it would go really well with this journey. But yeah, it was just, I was kind of sitting there in the hallway kind of writing on my phone with my free hand about this thing because I wanted to remember all the things that had happened. And it was very difficult to describe as for what it was. But I kind of told Isabel coming too. I said, well, maybe that was the reason I broke my arm, was to have that experience, because it was, I mean, not just playful. I mean, I am actually really interested in the space of psychedelics in a therapeutic kind of modality, as it were.
Sure.
I've done a lot of listening on it. I've done a lot of reading on it, on the different psychedelics, and I'm very interested in it. I obviously, here on Two Across, we are by no means the proponents of taking illegal substances. I think that has to be said.
Of course.
But I'm curious about the space, not just the sort of way, I guess, as a 20-something or in university you would use these things, but more as in terms of your own internal journey. And I have to say, leaving it at this, that there are a lot of like insights that came out of that have given me a lot of pause for thought. So
wow,
that was the upside of my little mishap.
Goodness me. So the final question on this then is, when can we expect your forthcoming album titled 16th Floor Psychedelia?
I was thinking about that, oddly enough, because when I spent my night on a gurney in the hallway, obviously sleeping wasn't very easy because I was in an emergency room and people were coming and going. And Isabel said, well, why don't you just put on headphones and put some white noise? So I started listening to these playlists for psychedelic therapy. There's loads of them on Spotify if you look them up. All instrumental. Some of them are like classical, some of them are electronic. And I thought that actually could be a nice genre to mess around in for a while, is just sort of make really long pieces that are very meditative in nature that could be amenable to that sort of thing. So wow. I don't know, maybe 2025, check this space and maybe I'll have my Floor 16 thing out. But last comment I'd make, which was quite amusing, is that when I came to and I was talking to Isabel being my wife for listeners of the podcast, apparently the people in the room when I'd have my arms set, they said, does Rob speak a foreign language that's not English or French? Because obviously people in Montreal speak both.
Yeah.
And she said, well, he speaks a bit of Spanish and a bit of German, but, not really, not fluently. And they said, because he was talking the whole time, but in this indecipherable language, but I guess it sounded like a language. Like it sounded like words.
So you were kind of speaking in tongues.
Yeah, essentially. I think I was speaking in tongues. So
gosh,
I think I was trying to communicate the grandeur of the universe through this language that I was discovering. So
that is a level above your usual A&E experience, I would say. Maybe they could ease the notorious waiting times over here just by slipping everyone a little bit of ketamine in the waiting room and, putting on an album and inviting them to go on their own journey of strange thoughts and language. I was going to ask the usual sort of, what have you been up to for half term and that sort of thing. And that is way beyond anything I can match this week. Yeah.
Well, life throws you some curveballs sometimes, right? But
yeah,
I'm not always averse to curveballs. I'm averse to the next several weeks of my life dealing with this, but
that is a pain.
They shake things up, and I don't know. I deal worse with the humdrum than I do with the crazy.
Well, it's a good story, isn't it? And by the sounds of it, an experience that you could never otherwise have had, and all thanks to this bike accident, which has sort of led you on this strange journey. But anyway, I am glad that you're out the other side of it, and your arm hopefully is now healing up, and it won't be too long out of commission, because that's your frisbee throwing arm, isn't it?
No, I'm a lefty.
Oh no, you're a lefty. Of course you are. Thank goodness for that.
I'm very, very happy about that fact. In fact, I was sitting there, on the first night thinking, okay, I can probably throw sidearm. I can definitely putt. Backhand might be a bit tough because it recruits the right arm a bit more than you want to.
Yeah.
So
sometimes fate is kind. Right, should we get to the crossword?
Let's.
As mundane and ordinary as that now feels after your psychedelic anecdote. However, we have a podcast to get through. So just as a quick refresher for the uninitiated, we always do a Guardian quick crossword, and we set a timer of 30 minutes. And this week's crossword is number 16,875. And we are also, thanks to our good friend Henry last week, who was our first guest, we are now 11-10 up in our overall scores. So,
and before we start the timer, just a quick debrief on the experience of making it 3 across for a week. How did you feel about that, Theo?
Well, I thought it went very well, and I was really glad to have Henry's input, not just for getting through the crossword, but his insights on various subjects that were really, really interesting, including the history of the crossword. So do check out that episode if you haven't heard it, because I think it just helped to put the whole kind of thing we're doing in a little bit of context. And obviously his linguistic knowledge is such that we probably got to a slightly higher level in terms of our awareness of certain words than we would otherwise. But I actually, having said that, you were the one that got caesura, which I think was the toughest word in the crossword last week. So props to you, Rob, for going toe-to-toe with one of the UK's finest writers on language.
Oh, I think if we played that experience out over a couple of crosswords, we would find that you might have a significant edge.
Next time we're falling far, far behind in the scores, we should definitely call on Henry again, just to nudge us in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Or get him on a phone a friend kind of situation whenever we need him for a clue.
He would definitely be a good phone a friend. And we're going to dive in. I think you should choose the first clue, partly because I can see what it is, and I think this is very much your territory.
All right, so let's take Pioneering Agriculturalist is a prog rock band.
Oh.
6-4.
Okay, interesting. So I'm probably more up on Pioneering Agriculturalists than I am on prog rock bands, but having said that, I can't think of a single name that fits the length, which is 6-4.
6-4. Why don't we get a couple down, because it's not coming to me immediately either.
Okay, so one down is Dessert for a Children's Party.
Yeah.
Which must surely be ice cream. Sorry, not ice cream. The thing that goes with ice cream. Jelly, because it's 5 letters.
Does one have jelly?
Children's birthday parties are synonymous with jelly.
Are they really? See, this is where we would just say a cake and ice cream, basically. But by jelly, do you mean like what I would call Jell-O?
Yes, exactly.
Really?
But being a British crossword, I'd be very surprised if they had gone with Jell-O. It's got to be jelly, Rob. I'll die on that hill.
I'm in. I love it.
Which means our Pioneering Agriculturalist / prog rock band. You got it?
Yeah.
Go on.
Jethro Tull.
Of course. Well done.
Yeah.
Jethro Tull.
We're doing all right.
I think much better known these days as a band rather than for his pioneering agricultural work, which
True.
Hopefully we've just gone some way to remind people of.
Yeah. Because lest we forget, before he picked up the flute, he was a pioneering agriculturalist.
Quite so. So that means jelly, I think, must be right. And
I would never have gotten jelly in a month of Sundays. By
really?
The way.
Just not a thing in Canada?
Not a thing.
Okay.
Not a thing.
Well, lucky you. I mean, a small jelly-related anecdote. My daughter's last birthday party was held at an all-you-can-eat buffet. This was her big dream, to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. So we managed to find one in Croydon, of course, of all places. Yeah, I mean, everything is in Croydon. So we took about 10 of her friends down to Croydon to this all-you-can-eat buffet. And among the foodstuffs on offer were jelly shots. So as you might have at university, some like vodka jelly kind of thing. It was like that, but only without the vodka. So my daughter and her friends just obviously gravitated towards these jelly shots like pigeons around breadcrumbs, and the little sort of plastic shot glasses were stacking up on our table. And this one girl came over to me towards the sort of middle of the party, eyes wide, ablaze. And she looked at me and she went, "I've had 18 jelly shots and I'm going back for more." And I was like, wow, what have we done? So obviously issued profuse apologies to all the parents and sent them on their way.
You should warn that child's parents never to send her in her, late teens to Daytona Beach on spring break, because she will be a disaster.
Yes, good point. Well, I did say I said to her, you are going to be an absolutely excellent student one day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So should we get into some of the downs from Jethro Tull?
Yeah. So 2 down, mountain lake, 4 letters, starting with T. Which I believe is a tarn.
Oh, lovely. A Scottish tarn. Yeah.
That's a favorite of the crossword, tarn. It somehow pops up all the time.
That's a lovely word.
It is a nice word, isn't it?
It's a fine word.
You just imagine like romantic things occur at the edge of the tarn.
Yes, I proposed on the banks of the tarn. Do they have banks? Maybe they're not big enough for banks, but either way.
Something like that. The shore.
Yeah.
Whereupon I lifted my kilt.
Look, we haven't got time for kilt lifting banter. No. We need we've only got 3 clues and we're already 5 minutes down. Okay, I like this clue because, well, I think I know what it is. And it's another good word. 5 down, resistor of technology, 7 beginning with L.
Go
on.
Named after a fellow who led the movement.
Yes, our old friends, the Luddites.
Yeah.
Which era was Mr. Luddite from?
I think it's Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
I think it's they went around smashing looms and such, like power looms.
And dare I say it, they probably had a point.
Yeah, maybe they did. So 3 down or 4 down? 4 down, I see.
Okay, go on then.
Relating to time, 8 down. If you watch a lot of sci-fi, this word will show up in one of every 2 episodes, I think.
Okay. No, I don't watch a lot of sci-fi, so I'm going to struggle.
It's temporal.
Oh, yes, lovely.
Like when Lieutenant Worf got caught in a temporal vortex and he kept coming back from the Batleth tournament on somewhere.
I think you referenced a temporal vortex in the last episode, Rob.
I may have referenced a temporal vortex. I think a lot about temporal vortexes in my vortices.
Are you sneakily turning us into a sci-fi podcast? Is that what's happening here?
By the back door, Theo.
By the back door.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this.
You are. Carefully monitor.
Yeah. Okay. 8 across. Device connecting a computer to the internet. This takes me back to the 90s. 8 across. So it's 5 letters. First letter M, third letter D. I think we can all agree it's a modem.
The Guardians' love of outdated technology, like the Digicam and the bubble jet or whatever.
Yeah. Inkjet. They love a bit of 90s technology at the Guardian Quick Crossword. So, usual disclaimer, by the way, Zeus is on fine snoring form. Zeus the Shih Tzu lying at my feet. He's had a good couple of weeks because we went to Devon last week for half term, so he was merrily bounding around on the beaches, and he got ticks for the first time, which was rather distressing. And I tried to take them out myself, and it turns out they're really difficult to get out, especially when they're positioned quite near your dog's eye. So I had to take him to the vet, and I was obviously braced for bill shock, but they very kindly said that they would do it for nothing, which was amazing to me, actually. So I can't quite remember the name of the vet practice, but I will find it out because I would love to give them a shout out. They were incredibly kind. So towards the end of the show, I will Google that up and give them a proper shout out because they were lovely. But it was in Paignton, the vet, anyway. Moving on.
While you do that, I will smoke an intoxicating cigarette, which is 6 letters long and starts with the letter R.
Careful, Rob. You don't want to start hallucinating again.
No, you're right. I should stay off that. Stay off the reefer.
The reefer, of course. I was thinking Rolly, but reefer.
I thought roll up too. But then I saw that the third letter had to be E because 7 across is blow up.
Okay.
7 letters long, 2 spaces, L space R space E, blow up. And if we think not in terms of explosive, but to more increase in size.
Enlarge?
Yeah, I think it's enlarge.
Yeah, well done. Because inflate obviously doesn't fit, does it? No.
No.
Okay. Another one we have multiple letters for is 11 across, which is preferential treatment, 8 letters.
Yeah.
And it's blank E, blank O, blank I, blank blank. Preferential treatment.
Very popular in your country until the Conservatives potentially get booted out in a month's time.
The upcoming general election, which has been called since, yes, we will maybe get into that over the next couple of episodes. But it's our good friend nepotism, isn't it?
It is.
And certainly beloved of the Tory party and the arts sector in which I work. So,
oh yeah, there's a fair amount of nepotism in your line of work.
Yeah. Although ironically, the Tories are not popular in the arts sector. So
no,
that Venn diagram is a fairly small one. Okay. Oh, nice clue here. Because it's partly because it's a double worder, and you know I like a double worder. It's 9 down, double Dutch, 5-5, and the first word is M blank M.
So Theo, we've had this before.
We haven't. It's in fact a seamless continuation from our discussion of Tories, because I at the last time said this is a Boris Johnsonism, and it's mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, our old friend mumbo jumbo.
And again, these repetitions. I think The Guardian needs to keep an eye on this, Rob.
They do.
Maybe it's because we're only doing one crossword a week, that obviously we're missing quite a lot in between. But I still think having the same answer within 6 months of each other is fairly sloppy.
Especially one that's so niche.
Yeah.
Mumbo jumbo is not a oft used word. Well, other than obviously by Boris Johnson.
Yeah. I'm sure he says it at least every other sentence.
Yes.
Incidentally, I found the name of the vet in Paignton that I would like to shout out to. And it was the Bay Vet Group in Paignton. So a big, big shout out and thank you to them for very efficiently removing my dog's ticks, but also doing it for free, which I'm sure they wouldn't like me broadcasting in terms of that's a service you can always expect for free. But nevertheless, I was very grateful to them. So, yeah. Okay, 15 across. Garden building. 6 letters, blank A, blank E, blank O.
And I believe that would be our gazebo.
Oh, yes. Lovely. Of course. Which is, I think, building is a bit misleading there.
It is a bit.
I would say structure more than building.
I would agree.
But,
do we build gazebos anymore?
I think they're normally seen at sort of village fetes and things.
Yes.
I don't know. The gazebo, it's that sort of like, oh, we're having a children's party. It's possibly going to rain. We want some kind of coverage for our jelly shots. So therefore,
let's go to the gazebo.
Let's go to the good old trusty gazebo, which we'll then never use again and can just stick in the shed.
There's a famous Montreal gazebo story, which I'll try and summarize very quickly, but one of our great men of letters, Mordecai Richler, author of The Apprenticeship of Deddy Kravitz and Barney's Version and a lot of other great books, and actually one I gave you years and years ago, Solomon Gursky was here.
I was just going to say, you have shared one of his works with me.
Great writer. Anyway, he and one of Montreal's arguably greatest literary outputs, and when he died, he was... what was given his name in honor was not a boulevard or a road or something. It was a rotting gazebo in Mount Royal Park, which was literally falling down at the time that they renamed it. And his widow was just appalled. And quite a stink went up about this naming a rotting pre-existing gazebo for the arguably one of our greatest writers. So anyway, they did eventually change that and they gave him a street, I believe.
Gosh. Well, I don't have any UK gazebo stories to share, unfortunately, but that may be just as well, because we are already at the halfway point.
shoot. Okay, no more banter, Theo.
No more banter. We need to be a banter-free zone for at least the next 10 minutes. So 18 across is Pakistan's official language, 4 letters ending in U,
Yep.
which I think we can agree is Urdu.
Yep, I agree with this.
Yeah. So just scanning around for something fairly
let's take the
low-hanging.
R off Urdu and give ourselves a bit of play down in the bottom, because that will
Okay.
take us down to the very bottom.
Yeah.
That's 19 down. It starts with R and it's trounces. So I think I might know this one.
Go on.
I believe it's routes.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because I was thinking, yeah, beats or...
Yeah.
But I couldn't think of an R word. So, yeah, routes is lovely. Okay, so what's this long one, 6 down? Do you think we can get this? This is disparaging, 10 letters, second letter E. Because that will give us a lot of fodder for the left-hand side. Disparaging.
Degrading?
Yeah, that's a brilliant guess. I was about to say there's a word that's on the tip of my tongue, and I think it doesn't fit, does it? No.
But let's see if we can get the last letter, because this is kind of interesting.
Denigrating.
Ooh. Now that would be very nice.
But that's too long.
Is it?
Yeah, by 1 letter.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no. Okay.
Well, what about Kindle download? 21 across is space and then 4 spaces, 1 and 4. That will give us the last letter.
That's got to be ebook, right?
I would think so. So we know it ends in E now. Disparaging.
Okay.
Let's not get stuck on this, because I feel like if we could get some of the acrosses, we could come back for it. I'm more inclined to work this bottom right and then work it back to get the long.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
This is interesting. Throw off kilter, and it's interesting because it's 7 letters long and it ends in U space B. Throw off kilter.
So that could be an M between those two, couldn't it?
One would think an M or an R, right? I couldn't imagine anything else.
Oh yeah, like disturb.
Yes, I think that must be it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's pen it. Let's heavy pen.
Yeah, I think we'll heavy pen that guy.
Length times width. This is 20 down.
It's not disturb then, because that's definitely area. Perturb.
Lovely. Yes, that fits much better with the clue. Okay, we're making reasonably good progress now. Okay, this is definitely one for you. City northwest of Syria. This is 16 down.
Yeah.
6 letters, 4th letter P.
And I think it's Aleppo.
I knew you'd get that, Rob. You are the geographer of the two of us.
Well, I've been reading to my youngest the last His Dark Materials book.
Oh yeah, nice.
What's it called? I can't
It's
remember
not
what it's called.
Amber Spyglass.
No, not in that series. It's in the series that follows it. So there's the next one in the His Dark Materials universe. It's in the Book of Dust.
Oh, the Book of Dust. Yeah. No, I can't remember what that one's called.
But anyway, basically Lyra ends up going to the Middle East to look for roses and to find her demon. I'm not going to say anything else about that to give spoilers, but they do go to Aleppo. So it has been in the nightly reading of late. So
thank you, Philip Pullman.
Thank you, Philip Pullman.
So
we've got a French wine, 23 across,
which is 10 letters and 6th letter O, 8th letter A, and last letter S. A French wine. So I can take a guess.
Yes, sir.
Is it Beaujolais?
Yeah. Is that how you spell Beaujolais? Let me have a look at it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Beau, as in beautiful.
Yeah.
EAU, and then JOLAIS.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That looks good to me. And here, Theo, back to geography, and I think this is one that should be right up your alley because it's an expression that the British love to use.
Go on.
Because it takes our U from Beaujolais as its last letter, and its second last letter is a K. And to not kill our listeners with suspense, the clue is city in Mali considered very far away.
Oh, yes, of course. The famous and oft referenced, but very few people know where it actually is, Timbuktu.
Yes.
Beloved of children's storybooks from a certain era.
Yes.
And there's a song, isn't there, that references Timbuktu?
Oh, I'm sure there's more than one.
Probably more than one.
From the Victorian era.
Yes.
I'm sure it figured into the modern Major General song in some way.
Surely it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go 17 across, just picking at random, which is, the clue is static, 8 letters, 5th letter B, 7th letter L, static. Oh, yeah, I've got it. Immobile. Or immobile, as an American might say. I don't know.
Well, I see that's kind of interesting about Americans, because they would say immobile. Like, I'm feeling awful immobile today. But the town in Alabama that's spelled Mobile is pronounced Mobile.
Is that one of those things where they've changed the pronunciation just to test whether you're a local or not?
Probably. I mean,
like
technically, I would imagine it's a French place because mobile is a French word. So maybe they're just trying to kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Intriguing.
It is intriguing.
Right, 14 down. Opening in a garment, 7 letters, 3rd letter M, 5th letter O, last letter E. Opening in a garment.
So there's only 3 openings in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
There's the wide part for your belly, the somewhat smaller part for your head, and then there's 2 other ones at the sides.
Oh, the armhole. Yeah. Yes, very good.
Armhole. Shut your armhole.
You have partially shut your armhole.
I have partially shut my armhole, despite myself.
Do you know, here's something, without wishing to massively tempt fate here, I've never broken a bone.
Well done.
Yeah.
I have broken many. This is the second time I've broken this exact same arm in this exact same way and required plates for it.
Gee.
And I've broken noses twice. I've broken dislocated shoulders.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, in a freak dressing accident, as Theo is aware, I tore a tendon in my left ring finger. Literally, like, taking off trousers.
Yeah.
And tore this thing, and it actually required like 6 weeks of recuperation and this finger to be immobilized under a thermoplastic cast. So yeah, I'm very accident prone.
And that was your disc throwing side, so
it was.
So 10 across, striped quartz, 4 letters, 3rd letter Y.
So I'm a bit worried because we got 3 left, and none of them are immediately evident to me, and we've really sauntered through this crossword, tiptoed through the tulips of Guardian 16,875, but I feel like the garden is about to get a bit more thorny, and I'm hoping, Theo, that you brought your gloves, because
my gloves are currently failing to grasp these particular thorns, because 13 across, so the 3 clues we have left, 13 across is at a slow pace, 6 letters, 3rd letter A, 5th letter I. And looking at it, my first thought was snails, but then of course that doesn't fit. So we'll come back to that. The other one is this disparaging, 10 letters, 2nd letter E, 8th letter I, and 10th letter E. Disparaging, and then we've got this striped quartz, which is 4.
Let's think about 6 down, okay? Disparaging. Okay. It now ends in I space E, which would strike me as that it's going to be IV, like IVE. Like, I was thinking if it were not in large, it could be dismissive.
Dismissive. Do you know, I'm wondering if it's not in large. Could it be in large? Because in large, no, it can't be that, can it?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Also, I'm not sure disparaging and dismissive quite fits.
No, but so we've got something. I mean, I don't know if the IV gets us something that we can think about. Because disparaging is almost being insulting or But it is kind of dismissive, isn't it? No, I guess disparaging remarks are remarks that are insulting, right?
Yeah. So we've done this before where we sort of try and talk our way to an answer. So if you're disparaging someone, yeah, you're insulting them, you're putting them down, you're defaming them.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it doesn't. That almost fits. No, it doesn't almost fit. That's not even close. Defaming, or you're disparaging. This is a bit of that dictionary problem, isn't it? Where you're trying to define a word.
Yeah.
By not using the word. And what would you say if you were describing disparaging someone? Oh, Rob.
What about our 13 across? At a slow pace, space, A, space, I, space.
Right.
And maybe the last letter could be a D.
Yeah.
You know, because I think like languid or things like that.
The first two letters, I think the second letter is R.
You think so, eh?
So I think it's like, like trawl or trail. Can't be trail because the I doesn't work there. But what's the final letter then? What could come after the I?
Well, I was thinking a D could be a good one.
Yes. Then a P before the I, so it's PID.
Yeah, could be.
Or T. Because ironically, rapid.
I know.
If there was just a letter that came before that meant the opposite of rapid, that would be perfect. But there just isn't a word that does that.
No.
And what could come after the Y in this striped quartz? An X?
L, N, a vowel. I don't think we're going to get this striped quartz.
No, unless we get...
Oh, I know. I am going to get it.
Go on.
Onyx.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that means... Okay, we've got 7 seconds, Rob. I don't think we're going to do this.
Oh, damn it. Derogative?
Yes.
So if it's derogative... We got all but the last one, dude. A space I space. If it's derogative, I mean, isn't derogatory?
I think derogative works there.
And then
great get on onyx.
I think it was you saying the X.
Yeah,
that got it.
So that means 13 across. Can we get it just for the sake of our dignity? At a slow pace, A blank I blank.
Could end in C.
Arctic, but that doesn't work.
Or you're thinking like glacial, kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like geological or something in that vein of thought.
This is interesting, isn't it? It's kind of making me feel better as well, because I thought if we could only get derogative.
But I don't think derogative is a word. Isn't it derogatory?
Well, look, let's check. Let's see. Because if that's correct...
Derogative, according to, I'm just looking at the dictionary, to derogate, detract, disparaging, derogatory. But it is actually a word, and it means exactly that. Tending to derogate, detractive, disparaging, derogatory.
Yeah, but I've just checked the answer.
And is it? What?
Well, it hasn't. I haven't done the tell me what the answer is. I've just done check this, and it's cleared out the first letter, the third letter, and the fifth letter. So we've got the rest. It is a tiv at the end, and the E and the O are correct, but it's not derogative.
Okay.
Jeez, I'm not seeing it. Should we just check? Should we just get it?
Pejorative, Theo.
That is so annoying.
Yeah, we should have gotten that.
That is so annoying.
But it puts an A back in that position, doesn't it? Pejorative, P-E...
So the A was correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it said. Of course it's pejorative.
Oh, we should have had that.
Yeah, we should have. That's annoying.
But hey, derogative actually fits and is a word that means exactly that. So I'm not going to feel so bad about it.
And gave us the letters that we needed. So in a way that was a good guess. 13 across, at a slow pace, A blank I blank. What the hell is this? Okay, I'm just gonna check it because check it. Otherwise we're gonna be here forever.
I think so.
Oh, for God's sake, Rob! It's one of those musical ones again. It's Adagio.
Oh my gosh, we actually mentioned this in. Oh my God, I was just thinking I was so obsessed with like a walking speed or.
Yeah, of course it is. We should have known.
And I actually brought Adagio up as my example of a sort of musical term that often recurs in crosswords, and then staring down the barrel of an Adagio, did not recognize it for what it was.
Didn't deliver. Oh, what a shame.
I cast aspersions on our doing of this crossword.
Seuss just did a massive snort, as if to say, pathetic.
Yes, he is being very pejorative of our performance.
He is being very pejorative of our Adagio performance.
Yeah, we were a bit Adagio today. We did kind of tiptoe through this one.
I'm perturbed by our mumbo jumbo and need a glass of Beaujolais.
Just to settle you out.
Under a gazebo.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob. Anyway, look, we're now 11 all, so in a way, this has kept things exciting.
It has kept things exciting.
Because
I know listeners, we're not doing this intentionally.
We're really not.
Or are we?
Oh, this is the genius of Two Across. It looks like we're just stumbling around in the dark, failing to get words. But what we're actually doing is crafting a very clever denouement for the series, which
for sure
means it will all come down to one big cliffhanger episode.
Yeah, I'm actually sitting here with a wall of reference books. I've got my Fowler's Dictionary of Common English Usage, my Merriam-Webster Dictionary, various thesauri.
Henry would approve.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, now obviously we spoke quite a lot at the beginning about Armgate, so we should keep our post-crossword thoughts fairly brief. But I did just want to mention that we are recording this on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Which has been marked quite extensively here in the UK, and obviously in Normandy. There was a big service there this morning, which I watched some of the coverage of. And it struck me that, of course, this was, among many things, it was an example of great Canadian and British collaboration.
It was.
And in fact, a couple of years ago, I went to Normandy on a family holiday, and we went to a couple of the beaches, including Juno Beach, which was where the Canadians landed, and we saw the Canadian memorial with the flags flying. And I was very moved watching the coverage this morning, actually, and seeing the last few surviving veterans sharing their memories of it. And anyway, just wanted to flag that, Rob, as a little marker worth mentioning. I remember being struck when I was on when I was on the beaches in Normandy that today, of course, they are just sand covered beaches that have families playing and people having picnics and all the usual kind of stuff you see on a beach. And I remember this feeling of slight kind of confliction at seeing my kids making sandcastles and running about on these what were once battlefields where so many people lost their lives. And I nearly, I didn't stop them doing that, but the thing that totally changed my attitude towards that was just thinking that was the whole point. That was why this operation was staged, in order that future generations of children could, in total freedom, come and play on these beaches, and people of all nations could come and visit there and enjoy their lives and live freely. So yes, that was something that really sort of stayed with me as a feeling, and the idea that actually in some ways a civilian beach is the perfect expression of something worth fighting over.
So anyway, that's just a little thought I wanted to share.
Yeah, and it's because you're talking about the last survivors of D-Day, and we've had similar coverage, and I think I saw an article go by somewhere, someone saying, he was sort of amongst the last that remained, because of course, the lads who stormed the Normandy beaches, the youngest would have been 18 in 1944. So, quickly doing the math on that, they're approaching their centenary, the youngest men who would have been involved in that invasion. And so there are very few of them left. And then it makes you think about the memory of those things and how that's going to change, fade to a certain extent because there's no more living survivors of it, but also how our relationship with it changes. I mean, obviously, if you're at Hastings, standing on the hill where Harold had his eyes shot out by William the Conqueror in 1066, and your kids were rolling down that hill or something, you wouldn't think twice about it. So there's these things fade in our cultural rear view at some point.
They do.
Like for instance, people might have thought of Napoleon in much different ways in 1880 than they did in 1980. Now we kind of look back and we try to sort of look at the complete man and maybe not all the horrible things that occurred under his watch and all the death and destruction.
Yeah,
so where will we put the Second World War? Because of that, we're wrestling with that right now, looking at Ukraine and things like that, where we almost thought that land battles on the European continent were a thing of the past, and they're not.
Yeah.
And so as these things sort of fade, how do you retain some of the lessons without those veterans to give you that reminder every year of the tangible reality of war? And I think that's something that we as a species have to wrestle with, so that we're not constantly repeating these ridiculous atrocities.
Completely. One of the most moving moments I've seen actually in the last sort of couple of days of the D-Day coverage was from last night, where there was a service held in the British cemetery in Normandy, and it was just the daughter of one of the men who died, who is obviously herself now in her 70s or 80s, and she was sitting next to his grave, recounting the day that she learned he had died. And it was a very sort of simple in lots of ways moment, just an old lady recounting something that had happened 80 years ago, but it was something that had clearly had such a profound effect on the rest of her life. And it made me think of my own kids, and how, because they are now the age that she was when she found out her father had died. And it just brings home this thing: in the end, all that war does is destroy, and takes parents from their children and children from their parents. And it just is a fundamentally awful thing. And I hope, always in the midst of all of the remembrance, that what doesn't happen is any kind of glamorization. It's just really, it's just a somber reminder of the idea that this must never be allowed to happen again. But of course, this is now happening at a time when it is. So anyway, that's a rather gloomy note to perhaps end the episode on. But
maybe to set up future episodes in the next couple of weeks, where we may discuss the upcoming British election, to pick up on that point, the glamorization of things like the Battle of Britain, I think a lot of pundits have noted is sort of symptomatic of some of the, let's say, some of the odd decisions that the British public have made in the last 10 years. I mean, that's a roundabout way of talking about Brexit and other things, but that kind of hearkening back to these things. I remember we did this volunteer night, the company I was working for in London a few years ago, and we went to a shelter, and I was sitting after you serve the guests. They were called the guests, their meals, because we prepared the meals and we served them. And then we were encouraged to sit and just chat. And so I sat beside a Polish man, as it happened. And the one thing and only thing he wanted to talk to me about was Poland's role in World War II, and particularly supporting the RAF and all the underground war that Poles fought against the Germans. And he had a slew of really slick YouTube videos that were clearly very well produced by, probably modern right-wing propagandists in Poland. And he was very keen on me seeing all this fantastic stuff that had been done by the Poles in World War II, and that the narrative that the Poles were just a defeated people by the Germans was absolutely wrong, and that Poland's always been a strong and fighting nation. And look, the veracity of any of that stuff is almost irrelevant, but the fact that we're using these warlike national myths to bolster our sense of selves and our nationhood today is incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think I took it in a less depressing direction. I think I doubled down. Should we leave our listeners on that somber note and perhaps set up a little bit of likely political chatter?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's leave them with that heavy mic drop.
Well, last thing we do like, because I think I've monopolized the podcast today with my personal life. Theo, what's the next week of your life hold for you?
Oh, the next week. So this weekend we are heading to the Lambeth Country Show, which takes place in our local park.
Yes.
Rather controversially, it has to be said, because increasingly over the years, the infrastructure involved has ramped up and up to the point where they now have an enormous metal wall that goes around the middle of the park. And
that's not right.
there are several music festivals that have been held over the past couple of weekends, and it's been quite rainy this year, so half the park is basically like a ploughed field now, which is a real shame.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Anyway, the one sort of free event, genuinely community event, I should say, in the midst of all of this commercialization of public space, to talk politics, is the Lambeth Country Show, which has been going for many years, and they have all the usual sites of a country show, like sheep shearing and odd-shaped vegetable competitions and that sort of thing. So yeah, going to take the kids to that. Kate is working at the weekend, so I'm quite grateful for a sort of distraction, a location to take the kids, and then after that we're getting into quite a busy weeks with various things going on, and events and birthday parties and theatre outings, and we're heading to Wimbledon actually in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about that. Yeah. But anyway, it just feels like there's a lot of sort of various things going on, so it's quite busy. How about you?
Yeah, June, it's hot. It's been very hot here, very muggy, which is not awesome when you have a cast. But I'm actually escaping this weekend with an old friend that we used to live in, share a house together in university, and we're going to go off to Vermont. I'm going to introduce him to disc golf, of all things, and we're going to sort of just walk and grill meats and watch Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, because for the first time in a few years, a Canadian team is in it. The Edmonton Oilers, led by the generational talent of Connor McDavid, are staring down the Florida Panthers. So yeah, do a bit of that, and I'm just kind of, next week or so is just kind of get used to my new circumstances, and then find out how I can work around them to continue doing as much of the things I want to do as possible. So
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, good luck with that, Rob. Good luck with the rehab, and yeah, we'll check in next time to see how that's going, and enjoy your lads' weekend. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was the proposal was made, shall we cancel this? And I, from my hospital bed, still awaiting surgery, said, no, I need this.
Over my dead arm.
Yeah, exactly. Over my dead arm. So, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, have fun, and yeah, look forward to catching up next time. You've been listening to Two Across, a podcast by Theo Bosanquet and Rob Cole, and Zeus the dog there. If you enjoy what you hear, please give us a like, a share, a word of mouth recommendation. Anything would be appreciated. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can on Twitter/X at 2acrosspod. That's the word 2 spelled out. Or on Gmail at 2acrosspod@gmail.com. And we would love to hear your thoughts, as always. So thanks very much. Actually, that reminds me, one more shout out to Ross in South Africa, who did get in touch with us via email to tell us that he enjoyed listening to us on his dog walks, which we felt was an excellent way to listen to Two Across. I also like to listen to podcasts, including our own, on dog walks. So yes, thanks for that, Ross. And do follow Ross's example and let us know how you listen to Two Across, where you listen to Two Across. If you listen to Two Across at all, we would be really, really glad to hear it. So yeah, hope to hear from you soon and take care. Bye-bye.